Thank you so much. Right. Thank you, Holly. Is anybody else, are you tired of all the changes that are going on right now? Within a week, our whole world changed. Our jobs changed, our industry changed, your life changed, you're frustrated, your teams are confused, your clients wonder what the heck are they gonna do? And we're dealing with more change than we've ever had to deal with in our entire lives. It's different now. And tell me if this happened to you. At the beginning of COVID, you kind of thought, all right, couple weeks, this is a sprint. Maybe 2 months in quarantine, and we'll be back to normal, right? And then it kept going, and it kept going, and it kept going and going. And suddenly we realized we're in a marathon, and we don't know what's coming next. And it reminds me of standing on the rocky beach at mile 18 of the Antarctica Marathon. Now, mile 18 of any marathon is right when you realize what you've gotten yourself into. You're tired, your body hurts, you're bored with all the running, and you've still got 8 miles to go. And as I was standing on that rocky beach, I thought, mile 18 of a flat, warm, civilized marathon is really hard. Mile 18 of Antarctica Marathon is at the bottom of a glacier. And you have to run 3/4 of a mile up to this tiny little flag up there, turn around, and then run another 8 miles. And as I stood there craning my neck to see the flag at the top, I gave myself a little pep talk, because, I'm a motivational speaker, right? So I put my head down, I said, all right, Ann, it's just another hill. Just one step and foot in front of the other, keep your head down, get her done. And so off I go, and I'm running, and I'm running, and I'm running, and finally I'm winded, and my legs are burning, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I allow myself a little peek up at the flag, thinking it's gonna be right there. And it was still just really, really far away. And I think that's where we were in about May, where suddenly we had gone on with the same way that we'd done things for so long, and then all of a sudden realized, this is something different now. We gotta change this a little bit. And this is when we start to innovate, right? You got your webcam, you signed on to Zoom, you start calling your clients again, you're like, okay, how do we make this work? Your teams start to innovate, and that's exactly what I did on the hill. I'm like, all right, head down, another pep talk. I'm like, all right, different strategy. 5 steps of running, 5 steps of walking. And so I ran, and 5, and 5, and 5. And I got my head down, and I did this for what felt like about 3 hours. And I was like, that flag has to be closer. And so I peek up, and it is no closer. And this is where the anger sets in. And I think that was about us in June, where suddenly everything's raw. You're angry, you're frustrated, everything's hard, right? Did anybody feel this, or was it just me? Okay, everything's hard, everything's frustrating, and around every corner is just another defeat. And this is where I got angry, and I started growling, and I'm like, forget the running, just walk up the hill, get it done. And I'm stomping up the hill, and I'm grunting. And as I'm doing this, I'm thankful that at this point, all the runners are spread out throughout the course. So nobody's sitting here hearing me like cussing at the hill and everything. And then this one runner comes running down, and all I can say is that she was bounding joyfully down the hill, probably because she wasn't climbing anymore. And as she's running by me, she goes, "You've got this, keep going, you're almost there." And of course, I'm like, and I think to myself, well, maybe I am almost there. And so I peek up at the flag, and I'm not almost there. It's really far away. And why do people say that you're almost there when you're not almost there? You know how it is when you're in the depths of despair of change, and suddenly Susie Sunshine runs along, making it look all pretty, making it look easy, and like, why are you having trouble? I don't understand. This isn't that bad. You know this person? Yeah. You're like, right? So I grunt, get my head back down, and I'm just trudging it out, and doing the best I can. And finally, I'm like, I got to be almost there. And so I look up, and the flag is still, it doesn't look like it's any closer at all. And I stopped, and I stood there staring at the flag, and I said, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? Marathons are dumb. I paid for this. And as I stood there with my feet planted in the snow, watching this cheerful yellow flag flapping in the breeze, I was ready to quit. I said, forget it. I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna wait till I have feeling back in my legs, and I'll just walk back to the starting line. Have you ever just wanted to quit? Like, no matter how important it is, I don't care what it is, I'm just done. Have you been there? Yeah. And just then, another runner came down the hill, and I think he could tell that I was kind of in a bad place. Because as he came by me, he slowed down, and he said, hey, look down at the beach and look how far you've come. And I grunted at him, and I figured this was just another almost there scenario, but I turned around anyway, and I looked at the beach. And it was actually really far away. And all the runners who hadn't started the hill yet were like little ants way down there. And I'm like, poor suckers. And I look up at the flag, and it was actually closer. And I was making progress. I still had a long way to go, but I was getting there. And thank goodness that guy came back by when he did, because he was exactly what I needed to get my legs moving again and eventually get up to kiss that flag, turn around, and finish the Antarctica Marathon. So thank you. So think of how far you've come since March. You're here. We're here, as few of us as they are, right? You're making it work. You're attending a speaker showcase. Even if it's on the internet, you are here to move your business forward and your life forward. You're not spending losing days, shall I say, sitting on the couch crying into your giant wine glass in your yoga pants and your Cheeto-stained sweatshirt, right? Anybody was there in May? Yeah, Kristen's like, yeah, I was there. We're not doing that anymore. We're moving it forward. And so as you're persevering through the challenges of change, don't forget to look back and celebrate how far you've come, because that might just be the motivation that you need to keep going, take the next step into the next phase of discomfort that's needed to get you through the change and to the other side, to that new normal. So that's just a snippet of my Get Over It keynote. I give people 5 Ps on dealing with the discomforts of change. Change, even once this pandemic is just a crummy memory, is one of those things that's not going away. It is here. It is always hard. So I love giving people tactical tips on how do I deal with change that happens in my life. Now, this also can be tailored for leaders, to help leaders understand, how do I lead my people through change and maintain productivity and morale? There are 3 other topics I speak on related to change, and they are fired up to follow leadership, conquering those challenging conversations, and igniting emotional intelligence. All really important. So whether it's a 20-minute keynote or a 3-hour interactive breakout, whether it's virtual or in-person or hybrid like we're doing right now, however your event evolves, I am ready to help you be successful, because we are in this together, right? And one of the other Ps that I talk about, the third one, is devising a path through change, because we got to figure out, how do we take action to get us from where we are right now to success on the other side of this thing, because ultimately that's our hope. We'll get there. So one of the main principles of devising a path I learned when I was 10 years old and we were hiking in Nepal. Now, to be clear, I grew up overseas. So when you live in Egypt, like I did at the time, you don't go to Disney World for vacation. You go to Nepal because it's closer and it's a lot less expensive. So we're hiking in the mountains in Nepal. We're in the beautiful Himalayas are in the backdrop with the snow-capped mountains, and it was sunny and beautiful the first couple of days. It was amazing. And the third night, I'm laying in bed, and all of a sudden it starts to rain, and it poured. And I seriously thought the water was gonna come right through the thatched roof that we were staying in. And I was dreading the next day, because I thought it is either gonna still be raining or it's just gonna be a muddy mess, and it's gonna be terrible. And so the first thing I did when I woke up is I peeked out the door, and it was sunny. It was beautiful. It wasn't too muddy. I'm like, all right, this is going to be another good day. Here we go. I was a motivational speaker early on. I was like 10 years old. I'm like, yes, it's going to be good. So we go off hiking, and, about an hour into the day, I'm an energetic 5th grader, and so I'm running up ahead of everybody and kicking rocks and everything, and I come across this river. And it is clear that every drop of water that fell from the sky fell into this river because it was overflowing and fast, and branches and leaves and whitecaps. And I was just transfixed by the energy of the water and the noise and, you know. And as I'm standing there staring at it, I notice that there's a concrete path that leads from where I'm standing to the other side. But it's completely washed out by all this energetic, dangerous water. And so I turned to Santee, who was our guide, and he's talking to one of the Sherpas, and the Sherpa runs off, drops his pack, and runs off down the path. And I said, "Hey, Santee, which way do we go?" And he said, "Well, Miss Annie, we're going this way." And I looked at the river, and I looked at Santee, and I was like, "Nuh-uh." And just then my dad comes up, type A hotel manager guy, and he's like, "Well, Santee, we need another bridge. Where's another bridge?" And Santee says, "Well, Mr. Al, there is another bridge, but it's 20 kilometers north, and we're going south." "Well, that won't work. That won't work. We need a boat." Santee says, "Well, Mr. Al, there is a boat, but it's across the river and down at the next village, and we're not able to get to it." "Oh, that won't work." Now, I'm 10, so I'm bored at this point. I decided they'll figure it out. I'm gonna go up here to a clearing, sit down, start chucking rocks at my brother, because I was that kind of kid, you know, and my mom pulls out the snacks, because of course that's gonna keep us quiet while they figure everything out. And all of a sudden I hear footsteps from the path. So I look, and there's the Sherpa that had run up the path coming back. And behind him were two men from the village that we had just passed through. And behind them were two giant, gray, lumbering elephants. And I looked at the elephants and I was like, "Oh!" And I looked at Santee and I was like, "Oh!" And he goes, "Yes, Miss Annie, here's your bridge." And we got to ride those elephants across the river, and 15 minutes later we were on our way. So as you're devising a path through the challenges of change, you have to remember you don't have to do it alone. Reach out to people who know more than you, who've been there before. I mean, think about Santee. We never would have come up with an elephant to get across the bridge. When you're in Jersey and there's a bridge washed out, nobody goes, "Hey, yo, talk to my cousin Vinny, he's got an elephant, we'll be good." Right? Nobody says that. So reach out to somebody who's been there before, who knows something you don't know and can give you some new ideas. Or maybe you just reach out to somebody who you can vent to, who you can bounce some ideas off of, and who can share the burden with you. Because we tend to isolate, especially when we feel like we're a complete disaster, swimming in a sea of Susie Sunshines, running around making everything look pretty and like they've got it all figured out. Well, here's a secret. They're as big a disaster as you. They don't have it figured out either. So reach out to people and you'll realize you're not alone. And that knowledge is gonna help you to be able to take that next step, deal with all the uncomfortable unknowns, all the unprecedented pivots, so that you can get to the other side of change more effectively. Good luck, everyone. I look forward to working with you and helping your audiences and you deal with the challenges that come with change. Thank you very much.